I'm on. Hey, welcome back to the Maryland Pop and Horror Con. I'm with one of the sponsors, Miss Kelly, who is with the Unusual Company. Can you tell us what the Unusual Company is?
So we are an unusual company in Old Ellicott City. We opened because Old Ellicott City had some floods a couple years ago, and the town was kind of shut down for a while, and it needs some new life and new business. We opened to help promote artists and creators. So we have movie props, memorabilia, authentic Italian gelato, 16 flavors. We have all sorts of stuff in our shop, from pins, patches, comics, horror, sci-fi, and fantasy. And we're just there to promote the artists and creators and just have a good time on the street. And
That's great. You can come down, get a patch, and enjoy a gelato.
exactly.
And you're only located 20 minutes from Maryland Pop and Horror Con. Not Maryland, but Maryland Pop and Horror
Carolyn
Con.
and Maryland.
So come down to the con, check it out here, and then go. Are you open today?
We're open today. We're open Wednesday to Sunday, either till 8 or 9 p.m.
To a place that was closed. I was like,
yeah, we're open on weekends, so you should go to the con and then go to us.
Yes.
Right after.
Maryland Pop and Horror Con. Come check out the Unusual Company. Come check out the con. Have a good time. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And we think you should live unusually with us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, on the flag. You know exactly.
Is this mic working all right, Leo? Yep. Okay.
Make the top work.
There we go. Man. There we go. We're on.
Howard.
Testing 1, 2.
Look at that. He's no.
All right. I guess I have a little bit of feedback there.
Unless it's me. No, it is.
It's me.
It could be me.
I'll talk.
We'll trade again.
Okay. We'll
See, we do the mic dance.
That's okay.
So welcome, Oliver.
It's good to be here.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, yeah. We wanted to bring your creepy little clown.
He's my new friend. He visits me in the evening too. Ever since I did the movie, I have to have a clown doll with me.
Yeah.
Oh, we're here.
We're live.
Yeah. He has to visit me in the evening, and ever since the movie, I have my new friend, and I have an obsession with clowns. No, I'm kidding. No,
Right. No, I know.
Actually, I never keep him in my room. And the thing is, this: if I can do my shout out for the gentleman who made this for me, he's in Belgium, and if you want one, it's called Stablight Creations, and he makes clown dolls, and as you can see, he's super talented. So that's my official shout out for Stablight.
Bad clown.
Something to have.
And it really does look like the real one. It's a little smaller, but it's pretty much, he is the guy from the movie.
Yeah, well, I know I got a lot of weird looks when I was walking you down here carrying that thing.
I think they're admiring you. They wish they had one.
No, like, look, two clowns.
Oh my God, I want that.
It's twins.
It's your soulmate.
Yeah, possibly,
Now,
No! Yeah, because I'll look at you.
everyone needs a soulmate who's a clown doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, clowns don't creep you out even after doing the
clown
film.
dolls have always creeped me out too. And that's funny because when I was doing Poltergeist, before I got the movie, they kept it really secret, but they were interviewing me and they said, Oliver, what are you scared of? And I said, well, I'm scared of like trees and clown dolls. And that's why they're like, you're like the character Robbie. And that was one of the reasons why I probably was given the role.
Yeah, because that tree scene is creepy.
Yeah, that was a highly technical scene to do. I mean, it took us weeks to shoot, but I was a kid and I loved all the different challenges they threw at me.
Yeah, yeah. Now we had chatted with you earlier, and you were very, very pleased with how Stephen handled the whole thing, and because I asked you if you actually got scared on set or anything like that, and you said it wasn't like that at all.
No, I mean all the effects. Well, the first they shoot a movie completely out of order, and many times like Toby was directing me, we'd ask him, we'd say, Toby, like what are we screaming at? I mean, what are we really afraid of? And he says, we don't know. But ILM tells us it's the scariest thing you can possibly think of. So whatever that is in your head, imagine that.
So long arms.
Yeah, that and the thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. That would definitely have me a little bit scared on set.
Yeah.
When you're going like and it's actually there.
Right.
Well, I was already tapping into my fear of clowns, and not like and clowns like that, because I had one actually before I did the movie, and I always used to be afraid of him and keep him away from myself. And I should have just tapped into that fear when they said, okay, what are you actually afraid of? And when I was streaming the clown doll and all those things, I was thinking of my childhood fears when I was a little boy.
Cool.
Was Poltergeist 2 a more difficult role for you?
I was a little older and I was starting to go through puberty, and I was kind of just really rebellious, to be honest with you. And the director was a British man, great director. And I was a handful to deal with on that movie. And I kind of fought with him on a lot of things. I didn't want to do certain scenes, certain way. And I argued. And, we actually did get into a fight one time on the set. And he said to me, Oliver, if you could do it for Steven Spielberg, why can't you do it for me? And I was such a little punk. I said, Brian, because you're not Steven Spielberg. And I know I was terrible. And as a filmmaker now, I knew how bad I was being. But I stormed off the set, and I was a little shit. And I called my agent at the time, and we had to sit down. We had to sit down like kids, like in the playground, and we worked it out. And at the end of the day, I really like what Brian did, because I love my performance in the movie. There's an intensity there, and he was doing his job as a director to get that performance. And as a filmmaker now, I know he was really doing the right thing.
Right. Now, you told us a little story about a really real scary incident that happened on set, if I remember correctly, and how Steven had to step in.
Well, this is, it's funny about the clown doll. I don't even remember it happening, but supposedly the clown doll's arm, I guess the fabric got wrapped around my arm, and I was like kind of like trying to breathe, and I couldn't breathe at all. So Steven jumped in and then grabbed the arm away, and he pretty much, I guess I can literally say, Mr. Spielberg saved my life. So that was the incident. I asked my mom about it, and I said, I don't remember it happening like that. And she's, nope, it did happen. That's what happened. And I guess I, put it out of my consciousness.
That's awesome. But you were very well taken care of on set.
Yeah, people were fantastic on that set. We were like a family.
And even though you were a little punk.
I was. That was on the second one. I was a lot nicer, I think, on the first one. And everyone was so kind to me on that movie. I mean, and Jo Beth Williams, she was like my mom. She was so maternal. And I had so little experience acting at that point. I didn't know what I was doing. So if it wasn't for Jo Beth, I don't know if I would have made it through that movie too.
Right.
Because a director really expects you to come to set prepared. They're not going to help you. It's not an acting class. They want you to be ready to just perform, and they can guide you, but better know your lines and your performance and be able to do what they want you to do.
What's your most memorable scene?
I would say the tree scene, because it was so intense. Over like 2 weeks, we were shooting the entire sequence, and they had multiple trees, and each piece had to basically be assembled each moment, and there was no CGI, so everything was completely practical. And we had the stunt coordinator that just came off Raiders of the Lost Ark, Glenn Randall, and he was fantastic, and he made it kind of like a game for me. And he says, Oliver, what we're going to do is we're going to have the arms come in after you. You're going to want to look like you're jumping off away from them. You want to make it look like you're getting on arms, but we want you to step away from them just so the arms can get in here. And it looks like, so we're going to use that kind of as a practical effect. And he said, what we're going to do also is we're going to shoot sugar glass at your eyes too. And we want you to cover your face, but we're going to give you the signal to take away your arms, because if you take them away too soon, you could be hit in the eye with sugar glass. Even though it's sugar glass, which is kind of a soft version, I guess, of glass or something.
It is. It's a sheet of clear sugar, basically.
But it can still hurt you.
Oh, of course it can.
Yeah, it can hurt you. So I said, make sure you cover. So you had to listen to to the directions really carefully. And he was such a great stunt coordinator. And I had just seen they had a screening, believe it or not, of Raiders of the Lost Ark before the movie came out. So I said, I found out that he did all the effects. So I had this great, I did all the stunt preparations for Raiders. So I had such a great respect for him already as a little boy.
That's cool. So, as a kid coming off Poltergeist and stuff, were you now the most popular kid on the block? Everybody was like, "Oh, those movies. Hey, want to hang out?"
No, actually, it was the exact opposite. There was an incredible amount of jealousy to the fact that I was a child actor, and I grew up in LA, so a lot of my peers.
What's the guy got to do?
I know, exactly. But yeah, I was beat up all the time and bullied, and people really didn't do much about bullying in the 80s.
No,
It was
back
just
then.
like,
I don't know.
it was just like, okay,
I
let's.
was huffing up.
Yeah, the principal even said Oliver should learn to fight. I'm not kidding. The principal actually said that. So I was bullied every day about the movie and everything else. So it was really, and so come Poltergeist 2, they're like, "Well, you're gonna have to leave school for like 6 months." And I'm like, okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where do I go? So, and you actually do have school on set though. So they gave me all my lessons.
What was
and
that
everything.
like?
Well, the way it works, it's kind of challenging. As a child, you can shoot for 3 hours a day, and then you have 3 hours of school and an hour for lunch. So they really have to figure out what they're going to use you for, and you have to do it in 20-minute sections. Like you just can't be pulled out of school, quote unquote, for like 1 minute. You have to have a 20-minute section where you're back in school. So they take you out for that time. And so it's tricky being in school at the same time because you've got to, like, if you're in the middle of taking a test, imagine taking like an algebra test. And then all of a sudden now you have to go act on set.
And remember your
Yeah,
lines.
remember your lines. Okay, you're in algebra. And then 20 minutes later, you're back on set screaming. Okay, and then you're back, taking your algebra exam. So that's what school on set is like for kids. So you kind of have to switch gears pretty rapidly, when you're doing
It sounds
school.
like a more difficult role for yourself, actually, because you're not in the zone when you're supposed to be in the zone.
Yeah, you have to kind of get back there very quickly, and I guess that's really just the craft of acting. And when you're a child actor, it's actually even a little more challenging because you just can't study your lines. You're studying school.
Wow. And then you ended up on one of those airplane movies too.
I know. They were casting for it, and they said, "Oliver, do you want to audition for the sequel to Airplane?" And Airplane was my favorite movie of the time. And Howard Koch Sr. was the producer. He's an old-time producer. I think he was the executive for like Frank Sinatra's company. And he met with me and he said, "Oh, you seem like a good kid," in so many words. And he gave me the role, and I was so excited to do it too.
That was funny.
He also used to run the bookie. He was the bookie for everyone on the set and took like everyone's bet. He actually said he was taking bets for everyone with his bookie for the horse races.
Crazy.
It was just so great. It was old time producing, old Hollywood.
Well, so what are you up to today? What are you doing?
Nothing really. No, I'm kidding. No, actually, with the strike, I'm not doing too much because there's the Writers Guild and
Right.
strike going on right now. But I'm a filmmaker myself, and I've written, all kinds of different things. I've written like Hallmark Channel movies, and I've done comedies, and I have my film called Celebrity Crush, which came out right before COVID, and unfortunately, we were going to do a little theatrical release, but everything, as you know, got shut down. So now it's on Tubi, and the storyline is about this kid who was in an 80s movie called Chain Face Clown. Nothing like Poltergeist, but it has a new cult following in the future. And in the present day, this girl becomes totally obsessed with the guy who played that part. And he meets him at a place just like this, and she seduces him, and she has this fantasy of living out her life with him. And when he rejects it, her fantasy, he ends up being trapped by her, and I guess they're coming after us.
It's
And
Ghostbusters.
wow.
It's the
I
Ghostbusters.
think.
I think it's the
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Anyhow, so she traps my character, and I'm stuck there, and she's trying to have me live out her fantasy of like playing out the various scenes, for the movie and reenact them. Anyways, I'm not doing a great job pitching it.
Yeah, I watched that movie. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
We had you on our live show, and you had brought that up. And I think it was 2 days later. I'm like, okay, I got to find this thing.
Oh, thank
And it was great. It was great.
I appreciate it. We had so much fun doing it too. And I hadn't acted in 40 years too. So that it was challenging because I was also the director on it as well.
Right.
And I don't recommend doing that. I don't know how Clint Eastwood does it. He's a genius in acting and directing because you're really wearing such separate hats, and you kind of have to flip gears so quickly too.
Yeah, you played a great captive.
Yeah, I did a lot of screaming, and I figured, what would it be like if your super fan trapped you?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it was bizarre. Yeah, I hope that never happens.
True or false? Spielberg gave you a Super 8 camera as a kid and got you to go to UFC.
Yeah, what happened was, I made these little Super 8 movies, and he saw it and he
So
liked
you've
it.
been doing this forever.
Yeah, it seems that way too. I've loved it ever since I was a kid. And Steven saw it and he was like, here, I came to set one day and he says, I have something for you. And he brought this steel case, and it was something called the Beaulieu 5008S camera. And it was the fancy Super 8 camera. Like, film is dead now, pretty much.
Yeah.
For the most part, unless you shot Oppenheimer, which was shot in film actually. But that's a little tidbit I found out about, and it looked great. Anyhow, so Steven gave me this case with this camera in it, and it could do everything with it. You could do, put the camera in reverse and do all the little practical effects. And he showed me like different techniques, and he says, do this. And he showed me how to have a little spaceship going against stars. And I kind of just fell in love with the whole process of filmmaking. And I did it for several years. And I asked Steven, I said, I'd like to try to be a professional filmmaker. And he said, what should I do? And he said, well, you got to learn the rules of filmmaking. The best place I think you should do that is USC. So I applied to USC Film School, and Steven gave me a letter of recommendation. And you'd think, they'd say, well, you're welcome. You're coming.
Yeah,
You're
right.
coming.
Nice.
USC actually rejected me. And so but one thing I learned about in life, you can never take no for an answer. So I called up USC, and I spoke to the person who was head of the admission committee. And I said, why did you reject me? And they said, we won't be told what to do. And I still didn't take no for an answer. So I finally met with the dean at the film school, and I showed him my film, and he said, you're really good. And I'm going to override the admission committee. So he overrode. I know it sounds crazy, but he overrode the admission committee, and it was almost like an Animal House. They put me on something called special status. And what that super secret social status. And I was like, what's that?
0.0.
Yeah, that's 0.0 exact. I was almost like living in Animal House at USC. So then they said you have to maintain a 3.0 average. And if you maintain that, we'll let you stay. And this is the trick though. At USC, the first 2 years are all general education when you're an undergrad. The second 2 years are cinema. So if I didn't maintain the 3.0, I never would have touched the camera in the film school.
Okay.
And they called me in every semester, and they're like, okay, what's your GPA? You may go now. And that was after I had the 3.0. And I had the best time, and I met so many great friends there, and the teachers there were so fantastic. So I was glad that I fought hard to get into the film school.
Yeah, like I said, you don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, you really can't. And USC, it's tough, but it's worth it though, because it's such a great place, and they teach you everything you need to know about making movies too. So I highly recommend going there.
No. Is there anybody out there that you would really love to be able to work with?
I'd love to work with so many different people. I'd love to work with write for Bob Zemeckis and all those guys.
Nice.
Steven Soderbergh was so great. I'd love to work with these filmmakers who have a true vision and artistry and just get their vision on the screen, because it is so hard as a filmmaker to see that vision out. I mean, I think if you only get even 20% of your vision of what you originally intended on there, you've really succeeded.
Fantastic.
Have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
I know. I'm a believer in that. After some of the things I've seen, and I really can't explain. I went with David, who played the lead in Terrifier. Played Art the Clown.
Very cool.
Yeah,
right.
He's a great guy. So we were doing a show
He started
together.
off as a cosplayer.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. He's fantastic.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
How that movie has come up and blown up for him.
And everyone's so nice on that movie. And it's so nice to see that too.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we were in Kentucky, and they said, "Hey guys, do you want to get a private tour of the Waverly Sanitarium?" And we're like, "Sure." I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, "Whatever it is." So we went there.
Sanitarium should have
the
given it
sanitarium,
away.
The Waverly Sanitarium. They have I think they've done shows about it too, but I didn't know anything. So we went there, And they said they didn't tell us anything about the sanitarium. We're just going to take you on the tour. And we saw strange things. I don't know if they're tricks were being played in our eyes. We saw like orbs flying around, like on the floor. I'm not sure. We all saw it too. And what was funny, we were afraid to say anything because they said they'll think we're crazy or making this thing up. Like, and they always said, "Did you see that?" And they were like, "We actually saw orbs." And then we saw these other things, these weird shadows that went through the doorways. And I didn't want to say anything about that either. But we all saw them. And they said, "Oh yeah, don't worry about that. That's just a shadow people." The shadow people.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
okay,
safe.
okay, that sounds good. And then when we were up on one of the floors, David was like almost like panicked, and I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Someone's whispering in my ear." So this place, whether you believe it in it or not, had a lot of strange events taking place there. We experienced it that night. So I guess I am a believer in the paranormal. However, they did say, NASA came out there and they were trying to do studies of what was causing these.
Yeah.
They said it might be an interdimensional kind of thing. They had various theories of what was happening in the sanitarium. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Interdimensional.
like crossovers and different things.
Well, they got to
So
add their
it's like-
science to
Yeah,
it.
they added
you
their
know?
science. So it
That's
was-
big words.
Yeah, it was interesting. Whatever it was scary. Yeah, interdimensional. Yeah.
Does anybody out there have a question for Robbie?
Nobody.
And you have to have a question.
You
Yeah.
came
Yeah,
to
no,
the
you
Come on up
panel.
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on up here.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
We're gonna make you famous.
Oh, okay. I'll switch. Okay. I said, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
She's camera shy.
So there's a lot of, kind of gossip about who really directed Poltergeist in terms of Toby Hooper being credited as Hooper and taking over.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there. And I was there part of the time. No, Toby directed me in the movie, but I really think it was truly, a creative team effort. Steven had written the original screenplay and wrote it with Michael Grace, Mark Victor, and he hired Toby to bring alive his vision. And this is, and I speak from being a filmmaker, and I've written scripts before that have made by other directors, and you want to, and you want to get your vision across the screen. And it's so wonderful when directors embrace you as the writer too. And he also was the producer. So I believe that everyone worked together, and Toby was trying to put his own vision in it, but at the same time, he worked to bring alive Steven's script. And, people say, well, it really looks like a, Steven Spielberg movie. And it very much should, because Stevens wrote the screenplay, and the movie plays almost scene for scene like the screenplay. I think a lot of the fear and the terror elements are truly part of, Toby's vision. And I don't think it would be really the same movie if Toby hadn't directed it, So the fear, the horror parts of the film truly feel like a Toby Hooper kind of movie. But then at the same time, you have the family and the heart and the love, and that is all about Steven, and that's his movies. And I think it was a amazing collaboration because you have both those elements that came together. So yeah, it was whoever, whatever people believe, at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters because we managed to generate a movie that still people are talking about 40 years later.
Good answer.
So I have one last question for you. Are you a cat guy or a dog guy?
I love them both. I love all fur creatures of all kinds.
Anything furry?
Whoa.
Whoa.
I know that could go the wrong way.
Just saying.
An animal kingdom.
Okay.
I don't want to cheat at home, but yeah, I like dogs. I like dogs because they're kind of needy and they're your buddy. And cats, I just respect because of their independence. They just come to you and they need you, and that's okay. I get that too. Very good. Thank you.
Come to these times. Do you yourself collect anything?
Um,
Oh, wow.
That's like the robot.
Well,
I actually don't collect. I don't have a specific. I just like little knickknacks and different things. I love action figures.
oh, what kind of action figures?
Like Star Wars.
Me too.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't.
I got an original Boba Fett on card.
Wow, That's so great.
I know I'm a big nerd.
I wasn't allowed to have action figures when I was growing up. My parents were from the 60s, and they wanted me to get creative toys. So I wasn't allowed to have anything that was physically about or physically that thing that it was about, like Star
Oh,
Wars
no
figures.
kidding.
So yeah, so then I got to have my second childhood, and then I went out and got all the Star Wars figures.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing now. My wife, God bless her, like it's just like I'm a little kid. Come to these things, and I come home with like swords and stuff. It's pretty sad.
It's good that she appreciates that, though.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you
She
need that.
encourages it sometimes.
We need that. Life is.
I know.
Who doesn't love Scooby Doo too?
So anything else? Anybody
Yeah,
else out there?
yeah,
You got a
yeah.
question?
So this movie obviously is everyone's favorite, but is it your favorite, or is there a favorite
Oh.
project or film or show or something that you worked on that is more your favorite than this movie?
My favorite movie. I love all genre, but I really love like if I was going to talk about popcorn films, Back to the Future is probably like my
What
favorite.
about that you worked on that you've actually like your favorite project or
Oh.
something that you worked on?
I like, I made
Back
this.
to the Future's awesome.
I made this Hallmark movie I really like. It was called it starred John Schneider, and it's about this little boy who builds a soapbox racer set in the 1970s, and he's befriended by the town crazy, who just came back from Vietnam, and he lost everything in his life, his family while he was gone, and they both help each other in different ways. Like the little boy becomes a champion, and John Schneider's character comes out of this hole. He's near suicidal, and it's really odd because it's so dark, this movie, because the little boy lost his parents as well too. You wouldn't think of it as a Hallmark movie, but the guys there at Hallmark were like, "We want to make this thing."
But they saved each other.
Yeah, and they both save each other. So I guess you have the Hallmark ending, but they start in a really, really awfully dark place.
And what's that called?
You've got it right. And yeah, we made it, and the director really cared, and they don't have a lot of money at Hallmark, and relative to studio movies. I mean, they shoot them like in a month. Versus studio movie, they have like a year or 9 months, longer for a prep and
When did
everything.
that come out?
That was in 07. And yeah, I love what they did with it, yeah, I kind of based it on that movie, Cinema Paradiso. I don't know if anyone knows that film. It's an Italian neorealist kind of inspired kind of movie. And it's about a little boy who falls in love with cinema and is befriended by, the outsider in the town, the projectionist. So I kind of based the structure kind of on that because I was a big inspiration. I love Italian realism, and I kind of use that as my prototype in a lot of ways too.
All right.
Well,
Well,
when did? Oh,
No,
are
go
we
ahead, go
supposed to be done? Oh, okay, I was gonna be like, when did you know you had a talent for writing?
I never thought of myself as having a talent. I just enjoyed doing it. Like when I was a little boy, I'd write. I had a crappy typewriter, and I used to type up little stories, or I did your choose your own adventure stories.
Oh, I love
too.
those.
I made my own up, and I just had fun doing with it. And I've never been the writer that I want to be. I think writing is incredibly difficult. I'm a fair writer, I believe, in a lot of ways, but I would classify myself as a better director, bringing alive a writer's vision. Because writing at a certain level, you can, and I really believe this. I think you can be a professional screenwriter and never be like Robert Towne and be at that level, and tell a story. And yeah, that's my feeling about writing.
cool. Anything else? One last question?
No.
Anyone?
No? Well, I want to thank you, Robbie, for joining us, and please get this creepy clown out from behind me.
We'll get him out of here right now. Okay, thanks, guys, for having me.
Thank you
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed
Thanks
it.
everybody
Thank
for
you.
coming. Maryland Poppin' HorrorCon. We're here until 7 tonight, and we're back tomorrow until from 10 to 5.
10 to 5.
Anybody know?
Yeah.
Nobody.
I think it's
5.
Yeah,
5
I think
o'clock
it's-
tomorrow,
I
7
think it's
o'clock
5
tonight.
Oh, and Sherry
Yep.
Curry is playing tonight.
Sherry is playing
Wow.
in here at 7:30 acoustic.
I love that. I love
So
her.
that should be interesting. I've
That's
never
great.
heard Cherry Bomb acoustic.
Right.
First time for everything.
Right?
That'd be awesome.
So thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.